So I messed up big time. Last week I streamed myself building the massive claws for the MGSD Barbatos, and my audio was botched for that stream, so anybody tuning in would have seen like 6 seconds of me snapping parts together with no audio, so that's fun. I need to figure out that before I ever stream again, if that ever happens, but worth giving a shot. So I got the claws built up, and the tail, don't mind the obscene gesture, I thought it was kind of fitting for Tekkaden and Mikazuki, and I just finished IBO recently, so that's a little bit of my thoughts towards Gallarhorn there. In my stream, I had to absolutely no one to a brick wall because my audio wasn't working. I did talk about my feelings towards IBO, having recently finished it, Iron Blooded Orphans, and I'm definitely hotter on the series than when I first watched it. I was kind of an IBO hater, but I think it's actually kind of a fantastic little series in its own respect. These third-party claws from China are so interesting. They also are compatible with the high grade, so if you don't have the master grade SD, you can still give these a shot. They're very articulate, they move here and here, they have full function of the hand still, so I could still use the mace or the guns with it. The sword, I've lost the sword, I used it on a different kit forever ago. And the tail here, which has a wire in it, similar to the Garaga tail. I did gear a Garaga a very long time ago, and it had a wire tail like this. And I find this gimmick very fun and interesting, if not a little bit frustrating. I should probably glue this wire in place so I don't have problems with it down the line. Because already, yeah, it's like loosening, because you just wrap the wire kind of around a round peg and then clamp the pieces around it, and that can definitely lead to it loosening, so I would recommend gluing that. But all in all, like, amazing add-ons for an already amazing kit, so this is really one of my favorite display pieces now. And this is just, everything out of the box. There's a few stickers on here, but once this guy gets totally weathered up like we're going to do, it's really going to be an amazing kit. And I was still able to mount the gun on the back. It doesn't have the function of going down because the original backpack doesn't fit with the tail, unless I modified it and glued it a bit higher up. But the gun can still go in there and gives the impression. Or it could maybe do the gun cannon thing where it gets down and shoots, which is kind of cool for Barbatos. So the other facet in which I messed up is during my Kapool video last month, weathering. I was like, well, John Bias has a great Waterslide video. Joe Gunplug Garage taught me a thing or two. There's a lot of good Waterslide tutorials out there. But if you're already watching my video, why not tell you what my process is and the way I do things, and then you can figure things out for yourself. And yeah, as much as I like to think that Waterslide decals are one of the first modeling things that people pick up, seemingly actually not the case. I was talking to my friend, and he said that he has a Warhammer buddy who has all these decals kicking around, transfers that come with the Warhammer kits, and has no idea what to do with them, is frankly a little afraid of them, so, I figure why not. When I was talking to my friend John Bias as well, he was saying not a lot of people go back and look at old content, so unless there's someone specifically Googling or looking up on YouTube how to do waterslide transfer decals, your older video might not come up. And not only that, people don't seem to realize that the skills are transferable was something that we were talking about, and that, yeah, doing decals on a Gundam means you can do decals on an aircraft or a Warhammer or, a boat, anything like that. As for materials that I would use, scissors for cutting out the decals. I use tiny ones so I can get in the crevices and get where I need to go. I got tweezers here for moving the decals around, placing them, as well as a hobby knife for more fine application if I really need to move it. And this is not the freshest tip, as you can see. So it would honestly be better actually if I did use a fresh tip, but this kind of gives me a little tiny bit of a flat surface to just slightly move the transfer. Of course, you got setter and softer. Setter helps you set or move the piece and set it in place. Softer, once your water and your setter is dry, helps the decal adhere to the model and sink down to the surface, basically melting the film of the decal itself. And water. They say you want to use pretty warm water. I just run the hot water tap as long as I can. And then you'll see it's a bit cloudy, a bit soapy. I just put the tiniest amount of dish soap on my finger, move it around, and pour it out a little bit if needed, if it's too soapy. And that just kind of helps the decal I've found come off the paper a lot easier. I don't think that's a common tip, and if you're not comfortable with the dish soap, the setter should be fine getting that off the paper. Q-tips. Probably the most important thing is you'll need a few Q-tips. And I've even used Q-tips I've had around from painting. Don't take my advice for it, just use clean Q-tips. And a clean paintbrush. Cleanish paintbrush. I definitely need to do a paintbrush cleaning session again. It's pretty much all you need. I think I'll just grab a piece of paper towel. And that's everything that you would need for decals. Step one, though, getting these out-of-box stickers off. So there's stickers here in a few places. The one on the V-fin literally is just sticking on barely. So we'll peel those off. I don't think I put many on here. There was a pretty big sticker sheet with all of these master grade SDs, and I usually keep it minimal. And with water slides too, I typically keep it minimal, but this is such a goofily maximalist build now at this point that I'm probably going to try and get as many off of that sheet onto this model as I can. I probably won't do all the dozens of the little tiny ones, but yeah, over the next little bit, I will try to cover this whole model with all of the decals. Right now, I'm just going to show you a few big ones, a few small ones, get a few on the model, and then I'll work on that until it is done. Okay, so I got all the stickers off. I'm really glad I didn't put more on than that, because these are really good stickers. They left some gross residue I'm gonna have to clean off on the shoulders and on the blue parts, so there's definitely got to be a better way to do that. So I got the claws off, and I got the gun off the back. I'll decal those separately. I cut out all the decals from the decal sheet, and I have them in sort of batches that I'll do them. So I'll kind of do all these 4 at once and let them soak. And just kind of go down the body. In here, these are a lot of the warning signs, and the smaller ones that I'll do after once the bigger ones are on. And then some of these over here for the claws. And I figured trying to maneuver this model with the claws attached and apply decals wouldn't be the easiest, so, anything to mitigate it a little bit. Now I'm thinking ahead on this build a bit, and I do want to top coat this eventually after the decal stage before the weathering, as I typically do. But all of these silly little light up parts that are like, sort of They're not actually light up, but they really do give the impression when they catch light because of the textured, clear piece underneath there. I will have to mask that, and that will be probably the most laborious masking job I've done, or most minuscule, I guess, in terms of a very specific area being masked. I've heard of liquid masking, and that might be really good for something like that, but I don't have any of that kicking around. So first things first, I see these are decals 1, 2, 3, and 4, and on the instruction sheet here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 3 here, 2 and 4 here, same on the back shoulders. So we're going to start with that, and I'll show you these little sort of quarter stripes here. So soaking this for about 5 to 10 seconds. I should give it a bit closer to 10 or a really slow 5 count. My water's probably cooled off a bit by now, so I can leave it a bit longer. Now, this is a tip I picked up from the Joe Gunpla Garage video, and that's just quickly brush over these decals. Wow, okay, never mind. So on Bandai decals, I usually brush these with the setter a little bit, but these are already coming right off the sheet. So these third-party decals are really slippery, so I don't think I need to worry about applying setter to the sheet. Now, typically after sitting in the water, you would leave it on the paper for about 10 to 20 seconds and let them lift off of the sheet. But these are already doing so, so I'm just going to go ahead and start applying them before they start breaking up too much. Alright, so a good way is to hold it where you want it, and so I need 1 here, 3 there, 2 and 4. Okay, so you want to take, maybe I'll do one thing in my hands at a time. You want to take a little bit of your water on a brush. You want to take a little bit of water on a brush and just dab it right where you're going to be putting those decals. I put even a bit much water. You just a dab of water right there. You can also use the setter if you want, if you saw that setter bottle open and you feel like doing so. Alright, now it'd be nice, it's nice if you can clamp your model or put it down. This has the tail that I'm leaning it up against. Let's see if I can get this more center frame. I'm just going to be sliding these off with the Q-tip relatively onto the model. 1 and 3. 2. So I need a little more water on them actually, yeah, okay. So yeah, if they're starting to stick to the paper or the paper's drying out, hit it with a bit more water. You should be okay. 2 and 4. Let's actually look at how these are aligned. Okay. So you flood this with some water here. Really, you can put as much water on as you want and not have to worry too much. And you can use a Q-tip, but I'm going to use tweezers for this application and just move them right where I want them. So that corner there, like so, and this corner here, like so. And just trying to be careful not to break them if you are using tweezers. And honestly, I put so much water on this piece that Q-tip might be the move just to kind of pick up some excess water while I'm doing this. So you have a lot of time to work with this, assuming you didn't put any softer on your part yet. And what you're doing here is basically just getting any excess water off the piece as best you can. If it starts sticking to the piece, or if you feel like you're dragging the piece and it's going to break and you're not just sliding it across the piece, that's when you want to add a little bit more water onto your brush. Water itself, I believe, does not melt the decal. It's strictly the glue on the paper that melts it, and the setter. So just a little bit more water to kind of slip minusculely under the surface of the decal so that you can move it a little bit more. And honestly, you kind of can sometimes edge it with the edge of a knife or tweezers. Instead of going from the middle. Now that was messy, I haven't done this in a little bit, but the next step once you have them where you want them is you just lightly tap it with a Q-tip, and I roll the Q-tip outward, basically hovering over the piece, not even pressing down on the piece. If you do, you might use some of that excess water that's still on the piece to drag the decal and move it, and then you'll have to add more water and move it back to where you first wanted it. These pieces here are still a little bit dirty from that sticker scum. I tried to get as much of that sticker scum off as I could. But I think that's just going to come back later in weathering, and there'll be some weird texture when I start adding washes because of some sticker gunk, but honestly, not too concerned. You can blow on them a little bit. As I said in my Kapool video, I wouldn't really bring an air dryer to this. I think it would melt the corners of the decals and kind of shrivel them up. But that's what you're looking at there. So if you kind of see a surface that's catching light and the decal's bent a little bit, or there's still water caught underneath it, you can push a little bit harder and try to flatten that decal out. I think the most important thing other than bumps would be that it's straight, that it's where you want it. If there's a little bubble or if a little bit of surface, that can be fixed once we add the setter on. Or if you want to sand it down after. And I would wait quite a while for that decal to set, to start bringing sandpaper to it. In my Kapool video, I was trying to soften the decals, make them look more worn down. And I started sandpapering this stuff, about half an hour later, even after I put the setter on. And I literally pulled some decals right off with sandpaper, so be a bit careful there. And also, when you're handling the model, be very careful, because if your finger's wet or if you're picking up extra moisture from the decal, you can pull this right off onto your sticker and lose it while you're handling the model. Like when it's pretty good to do the front part of a model first and then the back half if you can help it. In this case, I kind of can't because I have both shoulders I need to do. So let's see if I can get these off, but these are the back shoulders, so I'm less worried if they come out as good. And yeah, now that I know where these are going, so yeah, I can already feel this decal sheet's kind of drying on me. So let's see if I add water to this sheet, if these will move or if these are kind of just locked in place now. And if they are, then lesson learned, and there won't be these stripes on the back. Okay, so these are still moving. I did almost bend it there though, and I'm holding it very awkwardly. Yeah, I think I want to use a Q-tip, just so I'm a little bit less worried about breaking it. Usually I'm a hobby knife or a Q-tip person for these applications. I just get it done faster, moves it better. But yeah, these are actually like really delicate compared to some decals. The sheet is thick and then the decal is really, really thin, and just takes a little bit of water to just pull it right off. Now, ooh, this one might be stuck. Let me see what happens if I add some setter to the paper. Will I then be able to move this again? Yes. Yes, yes. Okay, so setter's the fix for if your decal's stuck to the paper. I actually don't have any water on the model here, so there's nothing really for this to set on. I'm just going to add a little dab of setter here, both sides here, and on the bottom here. Okay, I'm actually happy, it seems, with the placement on this shoulder here as is. So I just need to roll the Q-tip very lightly. Maybe it's a little bit further from the edge than I'd like, but I'm honestly gonna leave that one. And so, yeah, with the act of rolling, you're adhering it to the piece and pushing out excess water from underneath. I do apologize that the gloss of the model and it being white doesn't really show much of the water on it. I feel like I showed the Waterslide process pretty okay on the Kapool video that I did, but I didn't explain the Waterslide process because I kind of figured it to be common knowledge and really truly, I mean, even I don't typically go this crazy with Waterslides. I like adding a few, but doing the whole sheet when it's something like this is not something I'm too accustomed to. I was actually kind of uncertain about the purple, but I think once we get the purple all on this is going to be a really cool decal scheme. So yeah. Now that these on the front are dry, I could go in and add setter right now, but I'm probably just going to try and add setter in batches of the parts. So like get the shoulders done, or like the top half here done, and then add setter over all of them. And what that does is that melts the edges of the decals, or the decal in general, down more onto the piece. And you want to be careful with that, breaking pieces or adding too much or melting them, bubbling them. But yeah, it is a really helpful tool. Although I would say that, yeah, the setter is a little bit less necessary if you just want to use water. I think that's fine, but the softer is the one that you would really want if you want decals that look like they were painted on or just part of the model and not a sticker or some weird edges. So that was a bit laborious, and that was tiny pieces. And that's why those caution signs, the little tiny ones, don't always interest me too much. But I'm going to try all the big stripy parts and more purple parts on here. So I'm just going to go for a few more of these, and then yeah, see how that shakes out. I'm going to do these. I'm going to give these ones on the shoulders time, not touch them too much, and I'm going to work on the V-fin ones. And there's only 3 here on the V-fin, so I'll dunk them all at the same time. And this time I'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 67, 68 are the numbers of those decals. You can't even see these decals on the sheet because they're white, but they should show up on the yellow. And with a really small decal like that, yeah, you want to be careful that it's not moving around or losing it in the water. Like in the time that I'd almost pulled that out of the water, it had like slipped on the paper to the edge. So it's actually very easy to lose a paper, right? Or lose a very tiny one. So yeah, even like a little tiny hair was stuck under that. Got it though. Okay, so this says caution. You can actually see the text. The quality is, so that is, it is kind of insane that Bandai kits don't include proper Waterslide sheets. They're, you know, most of them are just stickers, and then a few premium kits will include water slides, but it's few and far between. And then when you do get water slides from Bandai, they're quite low quality compared to even these Chinese third-party kits that have decals every single time you buy them, and quite high-quality prints on the decals too. It's kind of baffling that Games Workshop and Revel and all these other companies seem to have the decal thing figured out. And I know that Gunpla does appeal a lot to children. So maybe some children don't want to be doing laborious work of dunking hundreds of little tiny decals into water and setting them properly with a Q-tip and melting them with an extra chemical. But, you know, I think even a kid would understand that it does lead to a cooler end result. So even if they gave the option, and then also they'll, you know, when they will offer decal sheets, sometimes they'll come out months after the decal, or months after the model. So that doesn't really help anyone. Okay. So the actual number of the decal is sliding off onto the model. I don't want that. Okay. Yeah, so these decal sheets stay quite wet. They're very slippery. That's fun. You know, I really like the Revel decal sheets and the Machine and Krieger, the Hasegawa decal sheets that have done are very nice, very high quality prints. But I'm consistently stunned whenever I do a third party kit that like they just kind of also have the decal game totally locked in. And I mean, anybody can really make their own decals. I'm pretty sure even in a normal printer, if you just buy the right paper, you can print out Waterslide decals for yourself. I've never done that, and I don't own a printer. I don't have a lot of use for a printer personally. I say as I'm talking about how I could use them on decals, but alas. Okay. So I put way too much water on this piece. So this point, just like using the softer part of the Q-tip to try and like soak up that water without moving where I put the decal, and it's working okay. Checking for symmetry, it's a little bit off. And I personally like to do my decals before panel lining, simply because sometimes you'll have a decal that goes through a detail or through a panel line, and I figure if a panel line represents dirt or a recess, or a place where there's a break in the detail, then I figure you would also want the break in the detail on the decal as well. Yeah, on my live stream, when my audio was all messed up, I did talk about my thoughts on IBO, and I didn't really want to repeat myself in the intro to the video, because that was like a day later, and I was still a bit pissed. So I've kind of come around though on the show. I really think that it is kind of a really fun show, but it does leave kind of a really sour taste in my mouth about kind of pulling up the ladder behind you, because Cadelia at the end of the show does seemingly make the world a better place by signing kind of a pact to keep children safe with Tekkadan, with Russell. And, I don't know how true that would be just on policy, but it also, Russell did kill all of Tekkadan, so it gives the impression that to make any political progress or to change anything in the world, you have to kind of shake hands and talk policy and play ball with people who want to kill you or have killed you. And I don't know if I particularly agree with that. I think that sometimes that's how inaction, kind of continues or suffering continues to take place. I also think that it's just hard to watch. Like, I get the intent of the show, but seeing these kids that you're originally rooting for that are in a gang all dying, and kind of Orga's convictions kind of become hypocritical, as it seems like Mikazuki and himself are all that really, really matter at the end of the day. And it's not about protecting kids in the future from something similar happening. It's mostly just about keeping a promise to his friend, which, is fair and interesting. Just hard to watch. This Barbatos one here is a little bit broken on the sheet, but this is going to be weathered anyways. I said that I feel people always over-weather the Barbatos, and I think maybe I misspoke in the unboxing video for these claws. I think the problem is that people use Barbatos a lot to learn weathering, because it's supposed to be a weathered kit, very battle damaged. But then you end up looking up weathered Barbatos, and you see a lot of Barbatos that have, really amateur weathering techniques on them, even from like a pretty amateur eye. So it kind of made me think Barbatos was like a try-hard suit, or a little bit people, the fans of it maybe are a little bit smooth-brained. And I don't, think that's necessarily true now, but I do think that, the way that I want to take this Barbatos specifically is the way I try to do all my weathering, and that's, very intentionally thinking now where, what could have caused this on the robot, on the mech, why is it scratched there? Why is the scratch that big? Because I've made the mistake a lot in the past of really not thinking about that stuff. And it leads to kind of a pretty goofy looking model. So I think kind of making sure that your story is consistent when they sit down and ask you, when St. Peter asks you, what were you thinking on this model? You can tell them, well, that was an artillery shot to the leg there. And then hopefully he'll let you into heaven for your consistency in your modeling ability. I'm always a sucker for text on the shoulder. It always works so well. I know that's like the most basic Gundam Waterslide technique, but it works and it makes sense logically in the world. Yeah, this is probably the quickest dunk to coming off the sheet I've ever seen on a Waterslide sheet, honestly. Really, truly ever. It is kind of astounding. This is going over a curved surface. Now, when you're doing something over a curved surface, you kind of want to make sure that you're going on the curve first, on the point of the curve, getting water out of there so that it's adhered to that curve, and then working the water out from there. And these decals are so nice. I really like how thin these decals are, how easily they come off the sheet for one. And then for 2, how little setter work I'm going to have to do to really make them blend on the model. These bigger ones, just like any water slide, are going to have a little bit of a border on them, but obviously not anywhere comparable to using a sticker on a model, like just a normal stick-on sticker that comes with most models. Those are really rough. I'm looking at that detail up close, like that is very cool. Xuanwu. I'm sorry about my pronunciation if you speak Chinese. Mandarin or simplified. I don't know if simplified is a spoken or if it's just a written language. I paid attention in class to the things I liked and didn't pay attention to the things I didn't. And even so, in school, I'm pretty sure they weren't teaching rural Canadians about the difference between spoken Chinese languages. I think there's like hundreds, right? Or am I wrong? Aren't there like hundreds of Chinese dialects? Or, I could be totally wrong. Alright, so I'm just going to keep working down the body like this. And then I'll go back and hit them with setter. And that'll be that. And then there's still the claws to do in the gun. As well as a top coat. I think one thing to note is that this is raw plastic. If you're painting a model, I would typically gloss coat it. Gloss coat the painted pieces or the painted model before adding water slides, just so that you can move the water slide on the model a lot easier, because a matte top coat is a matte surface, meaning bumpy and less reflective to light. So those minuscule bumps will catch the decal and make it a little bit harder to move along the surface. But the Kapool that I did have a pretty matte surface on it, just from the rattle can that I used in like the middle of the winter. So it was really grainy, and I used that to my advantage. But the decals dragged and were a little bit hard to use. Something that's raw plastic like this, the decals are sliding like crazy. You don't need much water. You don't need much setter. If you have an air bubble popping up on your water slide, you can keep going back in and rubbing it down with the Q-tip. You can add setter to it. You can cut the bubble with a hobby knife or prick it with tweezers. You can sand the bubble off. There's quite a few options there. I would just keep checking back in on the bigger decals every few hours, because they might have a tendency to bubble up a little bit, and you can just push them back down with the Q-tip to make sure that it's totally flat by the time all those chemicals set. Otherwise, that's my decal process. There's a bunch here more to do. And then next time, it's just going to be weathering, panel lining, some light chipping, and yeah, maybe a few paint applications here and there, but there's not much that this guy needs. These master grade SDs, even more so than most master grades, are out of the box, just really cool. So there's some decals there for you. Nothing crazy, just 5 or 6 of them there, but I will say that you can definitely knock this out a lot faster, do these in big batches. You can do a whole row of them. I just like to do them, in a set of 4 or 5 at a time, in, the allotted time that I have, and then set them. And yeah, you can very much just like move the model and see where the light is catching it to see if there's bubbles or weird edges, etc. something small like this, and something that I want to bring up close to my own face. Sorry if there was some stuff that wasn't fully in focus, but I tried to fully explain my process here. All right. Take care.